Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. I see some new faces and some old timers, so that's awesome. My name is Marcus Coleman. I'm a registered client service associate for Raymond James here in Pittsfield. Also, I'm a four-time DLE Gen Now Retreat participant, and I'm currently on the DLE Advisory Board. We actively use the chat box in our event, so if you can right now, put your name, company, title, and where you're joining us from in the chat box. Once again, put your name, company, title, and where you're joining us from. For our new people on today, just want to give you a little background on the DLE Culture Chat. It is a business-oriented open forum that examines changes and challenges in today's unpredictable workplace. It is held bi-weekly at noon Eastern on Fridays. This 60-minute program engages multiple perspectives through a moderated format that promotes respectful conversations with actionable takeaways. Designed for greater interactivity than a webinar, the program unites accomplished professionals from various backgrounds. The range of topics is extensive. It includes virtual collaboration, mentorship, workplace inclusiveness, career pivots, and dealing with toxic cultures. Once again, I'd like to welcome all our newcomers. It's always great to see new faces. Before I pass it on to Ben, just want to go over a few DLE ground rules. So right now, can you all please mute your mics? We actively use the chat function here, so please put your questions and statements in there. I will be fielding those questions and statements and bringing it to our presenter, Ben. When you're called on, please state your name and company. And with that being said, Ben, take it away.
About 9 months ago, I first got involved with the DLE, and I was asked to do a workshop, which was originally going to be in person, which quickly there was a pivot to make it virtual, and I believe it was the first virtual workshop that the DLE had hosted as part of the ownership series. So I covered some of the material that I'm going to review today in this workshop, but kind of as this was all going on, a lot of this was new to everybody working from home. I think kind of the mood at the time is that there was some cautious optimism about how kind of this new norm around the new workplace, might lead to some, greater efficiencies, better work-life balance. Maybe some people were losing their commutes or things like that. And again, I think that there was a little bit of a cautious optimism about maybe that this new environment, that there could be some positives coming out of it. At the same time, I think that there were some concerns about, social isolation, missing coworkers and colleagues, career growth, onboarding new people, all these things. And I know the DLE has done a number of conversations throughout the year about this stuff. But I just thought before getting into the discussion today, it just might be worthwhile to check in with people about how people are feeling about ownership, whether that's over your schedule, energy, and your resources. So I believe Crystal is going to be launching these polls. So 9 months into COVID, how much ownership do you feel over your schedule? And if everybody could answer that as quick as possible. And then, okay. All right, so we're gonna, especially group facilitators, take note of this. It looks like we got a good chunk of people who feel still much more ownership over their schedule, but then kind of a little bit, maybe some more lukewarm feelings about it. So keep that in mind for the group chat that we're gonna have later. Crystal, we can get the next poll up. Okay, so same question, but how do you feel ownership over your energy? Oh, wow, okay. So no one says that they feel much more ownership over their energy. I think this will be an interesting conversation um, to have. Okay, next, final one. And ownership over your resources. All right. Okay. Similar results, I'd say across the board, but I think it's going to be important to flush this out in the conversation. I just encourage everyone right now. I'm going to keep talking with the presentation so we can keep the program moving. But if you want to right now in the chat, just share where some of the areas that you're struggling with around ownership. And like I said, keep all this stuff in mind, and we're going to circle back to it in just a few minutes. So Kaylee, if we go to the next slide. Okay, so time management, obviously that's kind of the theme of today's workshop, and I always like to put that in quotes, time management, because remember, time is really not something that we can necessarily manage. It's not something we can't slow it down, we can't speed it up. We don't have time travel. We can't go back in time, and there's no way that we can add any more hours into our week. There's only going to be 168 hours in that week. But what we can start to look at is how do we manage ourselves within the work week, the 24/7 calendar that we all have. And again, to bring it back, kind of the theme of the workshop series that the DLE kicked this off with is ownership. How are we spending our energy and our resources? And what I can say about all this is there's nothing new to these struggles with ownership or time management. This is not just something that we're facing today in the 21st century. Is merely just like a creation of the internet or technology or any other source of modern distractions. One quote I like to always kind of reflect on is this: "Life is long if you know how to use it," and that was from a Roman philosopher, Seneca, in the first century. As humans, our brains are kind of wired for distractions. We're always kind of scanning our environments, and it's always going to be a perpetual struggle. But I still think that these conversations, looking at some of these frameworks, are definitely useful in finding ways that we can better make use of how we are spending our energy and our resources. So with that, if we could go to the next slide. Much of what I'm drawing on today is based off of a book by an author named Rory Vaden. His book, Procrastinate on Purpose, I think came out in the last 5 or 10 years. This was a book that I was introduced to just a couple months, I think, before COVID kind of took off. And I'd say throughout this whole pandemic period that we're in, it's definitely held up some of the concepts in it. And I think the concepts I'm going to review will, set you up to find more space on your calendar for what matters most, to you. And just thinking about, again, for the next culture chat in 2 weeks, thinking about energy management and self-care. So Roy Vaden, talking about time management, it's important to kind of think about the evolution of some of this thinking, especially in a more modern era. The first dimension, time management, kind of came out of the whole Industrial Revolution, the Taylor-Wright management theory, really all based around productivity and efficiency. How can we do more faster, do more faster sometimes than what seems in a shorter period of time. This is one of those things, especially in the workplace, it's very hard to get away from. No matter who your employer is, even in the white collar workforce, there still is always that pressure, produce more. Following into that, the second dimension came around with prioritization. Really got popular in the 1980s around the stuff with Dr. Stephen Covey and some of his books, where he looked at this XY axis framework here, urgent and important. You can see that in the box over in the lower right-hand corner there. Again, just as a way to prioritize, look at your to-do list and figure out, what's urgent, what's important. How can you compare different things on your to-do list up against each other? This is, again, a very important skill to have, but I think we all know, sometimes though it feels like that to-do list is always growing, and we get caught with what some people call the tyranny of the urgent, where, everything was due yesterday. What's important is whoever is the next person to walk up to you in your cubicle and tell you that they need this. Again, we needed this yesterday. So how can we start to get away from that? And that's where Rory Vaden came along and added this third dimension, the significance piece to it. And how long will it matter? And really, what he really emphasizes is focusing today on what will create more time tomorrow. So just a quick example, like I said, at work, sometimes we all feel like we have that endless to-do list. It's just constantly growing. But in your office, you might have a new employee, maybe an intern, someone who's young with a lot of promise, who's right now being very heavily underutilized. And that the right thing to do is to train them, mentor them, get them up to speed, start taking over some of your work. But you just have too much to do today. I can't train this person today. But when you start to add this significance dimension, now you start looking at it differently. I'm going to take the time to train this person so then they can start taking some more off my plate, which will free me up for more tomorrow. Just kind of, and I'll get into this a little bit more on the next slide, please. Okay, so Rory Vaden, the focus funnel. This is his main framework out of his book, and the tool that we're going to discuss in our conversation in just a few minutes. I'm sorry, kid. This can you just click 5 times through and reveal all the little hidden things there? That'll just be the easiest thing. Thank you. One more. Okay. So the focus funnel, again, you're going to take your to-do list, and you're going to take your task for the day, and you're going to send it down through this funnel. And what Rory Vaden talks about is, time is not just a logical thing, but it's also an emotional thing. And often it's giving ourselves emotional permission is really what the hard part is. So you send your task down through. First thing you come through, eliminate. What can I eliminate? What am I doing every day that I just don't need to be? And again, the emotional permission there is ignore. You're giving yourself, what? I'm not going to do this. I'm moving on. But obviously, we can't ignore everything. So you got to keep moving down the funnel. Come to automate. Real easy example of that is auto bill pay. Every month it takes you 30 minutes to pay your bills. It might take you 2 hours to set up auto bill pay. How can I find that 2 hours? But again, when you understand the significance of it, you realize that 2 hours is now going to free you up a half hour every month. And by the time you come to the 4th month, you've already made back your initial investment of that 2 hours. And now going on throughout the year, you've now reclaimed, 30 minutes in your month. Small, but, important. If you can't eliminate, can't automate, you bring it down here to the delegate. And I think this is something where especially a lot of leaders and managers struggle with, is delegating to someone else. And the emotional piece of this is being imperfect. That, handing something off to that new person, that new hire, it's not going to be as good as you, especially starting out. But, again, investing in that training and that mentorship and giving that person this task that's consumed a lot of your energy and your time, it's important. So then, finally, if you brought it down on this funnel and you can't eliminate, you can't automate, and you can't delegate, you got 2 choices here. One is the procrastinate, you know, and what he calls it, procrastinating on purpose. You know what, you're giving yourself that permission. I'm going to do it later. Maybe I can send it through the funnel at a later date, and maybe I'll have a new insight for how I can not do it. Or you make the conscious decision, I'm going to concentrate on this now, and I'm just going to get it done. And in doing that, you're giving yourself that emotional permission to protect. You know, you're going to minimize your email. You're going to put your phone on mute. You're not going to check social media. This right now in this moment is the most important thing that I can work on and finally get that off my to-do list. So that's the focus funnel in a nutshell. I think now we're going to move into the breakout groups. And Crystal, are you gonna?
Hi everyone. Hope everyone enjoyed the presentation. What we're going to do now is enter into the breakout sessions. And thank you, Ben, so much for the presentation. It was super, super insightful. And what I want everyone to do is to reflect on your responses to those questions, reflect on the funnel diagram that you just saw, and bring a level of authenticity to the conversations that you're going to have in these breakout rooms. I encourage you to do that. So Crystal, we can break out everyone into their rooms.
Great. Everyone will move automatically and you'll be in there for 20 minutes and then we'll come back.
All right, cool. So Crystal, I got us that far, but I just got us someone to volunteer to report out for us.
Perfect.
So you can take over from here.
Beautiful. Do we all, I mean, I know Aaliyah and Ben. Kirsten, I haven't had too much opportunity to get to know you yet. So do we want to each kind of introduce ourselves really quickly?
Yeah, sure. We can do that. I'm Aaliyah. Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
go.
Crystal.
You go.
Sorry. I'm Aaliyah. I'm from Durham, North Carolina. I went to Syracuse University. I graduated in 2014. I play professional tennis, and I am also a screenwriter.
I'll go. I'm Crystal, live here in Pittsfield, Mass. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering and an MBA, so that's kind of my background, and I work for a defense contractor out here as an IT manager.
And I'm Kirsten. I'm originally from Pittsfield, Mass, but I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I went to school for business admin, got a bachelor's in that, and I'm currently working as an office coordinator at an architecture firm in Durham.
Oh, nice.
I'm Ben. I just gave a 2-minute bio, so I'm not going to repeat it. I'll refer you to the slide 1 if you have any questions.
Gotcha.
Perfect. So kind of our first question to talk about is the poll results, which I thought were really interesting. How did you guys answer the poll when it came to schedule? What were your thoughts on that one?
So oh, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I said that I'm pretty sure I said I feel like I have kind of more control over my schedule now. I was at like in between.
Yeah. And for me, it wasn't much different. It was like a little bit more. I've always kind of had control over my schedule for the most part. So it wasn't much of a difference, but it was just a little bit more just with COVID because you have to plan a little bit extra, I feel like.
I feel like if I were answering the poll, which I couldn't because I was host and launching them, but if I answered it, I would have said definitely less.
Less.
Yes, because I feel like with the time that we're in, with everything being virtual, people are scheduling meetings more than they're walking over to someone's desk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So rather than being able to say, oh, I'll just stop by and see if they're available, I have to set up a half-hour meeting. And if it only takes 15 minutes, you've got that half-hour block. I just feel like I have no breaks in my time anymore.
That's true too. Yeah, that's true.
I was just going to say, I definitely think it depends on what type of role you're in position-wise. Like I definitely think I feel like I have more flexibility now because I'm not being pulled every which way, which I used to do in my role. So now I have a little bit more time to like pick and choose as I need.
Exactly.
I said that actually, I think I said somewhat less, but in some ways, maybe I'm starting to feel much less than before. I mean, I worked from home before this all kicked off, so that wasn't like a new thing to me, and having that kind of control. But, you know, just an example, I think, you know, people are talking about, okay, well, now things are slowly starting to open back up, getting out with people again, meeting for coffee, having meetings in person. Mentioned I'm starting to renovate this building, so I got to meet with a lot of contractors, and a lot of that's done face to face. Now, all of a sudden, like in the last 24 hours here in Pittsfield, everything that I had planned in the next week is now either on hold, canceled, or like it's moving from in person to Zoom. So I'm starting to, you know, I'm just starting to feel like, where do I have to control this? You know, so.
Exactly. A lot of schedule changes and a lot of adjustments, I feel like, have been made from everybody in some shape or form, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like everything's just constantly up in the air. Like you just don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It does feel like that. It does
I'm supposed to be a bridesmaid in a wedding in January, and the bride is adamant that it's going to happen, but I think a lot of us are not so sure.
Exactly. That's how it is. That's how it is now. It's like, even when someone asks you to meet for something, you're like, well, let's just check and see, because you're so unaware of what's going on. So
Yep.
It's a different time.
What about the energy question? I found this one to be the most interesting because so many people said less.
I voted just a little bit more, but at the same time, I kind of realized that because I've been struggling with like getting to bed on time. So like in the morning, I'm tired, even though I'm getting up at the same time. It's just that I'm not getting the same hours of sleep. So it is a little bit less as far as just because I'm not going to bed on time. I'm just like staying up as if it wasn't COVID, I'd probably be in the gym at like 7 a.m. But now it's a little bit pushed back. So I feel like I have so much more time when I really obviously don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in terms of energy, and the way I understand the intent of the concept here. Yes, same guy. In fact, you know, Crystal and I actually, we met before this in exercise class, you know, and just in terms of I always liked having a very, you know, strong routine, and I liked, you know, I would go to these exercise classes early in the morning because it was just for the accountability of it. And, you know, so losing that, like, yeah, I still exercise from home, but it's not the same. I don't push myself as hard as if I'm forced to get out of bed, get in the car, and then, you know, show up with a bunch of other people who are kind of pushing me along. So I think, you know, that's definitely affecting my energy, my mood. You know, physically, I don't think I'm as good a shape as I could be. You know, and then also too, I just think kind of the collective anxiety around things, you know, just trying to, I don't know, make plans with people, you know, whatever. Or when you do get together with people, there's always half the people who are like in the corner, like they don't want to like touch anyone, and they you know, they haven't left their house in 8 months, and then, you know, then you got the other people who have disregarded all the public health guidelines and have just been like out partying, and it's stressful. It's draining. I find it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I find the same thing, Ben, with the working out. I miss Thomas's class. I miss going into the studio. I miss being with people. I actually sprained my ankle last month, so I'm doing even less now because I'm still trying to heal and still hobbling around the house a little bit with my ankle on repair. But it's been so hard because I don't work out at home the same way that I work out when I'm with a group. Yeah. And I feel
it's
more
interesting.
tired.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting how like you can work out at home, but it's not the same as going into the gym or wherever your workout group is. You get such a better workout with other people, it feels like.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that everyone mentioned working out, because I thought the same thing. So I always went to the gym right after work. That was like my routine. And then I think just not being able to go into work at the same time and leave at the same time and go to the gym, like the gyms are open here, so it's like I've slowly been getting back into that, but things just don't feel the same. And it's like I'm getting up at different times because if I don't have a meeting early in the morning, I'm like, oh, I have some time to sleep in. So I'm just so scattered with my schedule that it's just very inconsistent. So it's like draining that energy. And obviously the screen fatigue is huge. Like I get so exhausted just staring at a screen, and it's hard to like set aside the time to be like, you know what, I need to step away. Let's go stand outside for a while or something.
Right.
Your eyes off it, but that's
I agree. I ordered these like glasses. Yeah, because my eyes started to hurt from looking at the screen so much. I was like, I cannot take this any longer, honestly. Just like meeting with people over Zoom, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is actually horrible. But yeah, it is interesting how when our routine is out of whack, we feel more drained than when it seems like we have a set routine. We know what we're doing. It's very interesting.
I miss walking around at work. Like right now, I am confined to this little corner of a room. I sit at my chair and I move meeting to meeting by clicking buttons rather than getting up and going to a conference room. And I miss that. I didn't realize how much more energy it gave me to be able to walk around, and I don't know. I feel like I can't do that anymore.
That freedom to just get up and walk around. I understand that. That makes sense.
And that might be partially my industry too, just the fact that I have constant back-to-back meetings. It doesn't let me have that. I know a lot of people like, I've been taking walks in the middle of the day and it's been wonderful, and I wish I could. I so badly wish I could. What about that third question on resources? Thoughts on that one?
Well, so for me, my resources in the screenwriting field went up because I've had more time to like connect with other people. So I've connected with other directors and screenwriters and so forth. And I'm actually trying to shoot my first film next year, hopefully sometime when COVID is like gone down just a little bit. So my resources have gone up a lot, like a whole lot, to be honest with you. So, and that was from just like me reaching out to like almost anybody. I'm just messaging people and people kind of get back to you. So yeah, my resources I've just been using, honestly, social media to just, branch out and to try to get stuff done, to be honest, because I'm home after working out. It's like there's nothing else to do. So yeah.
I'm saving money. I've noticed that by not going out, by not doing much. When I thought of resources, I thought, well, my bank account's gone up a little bit.
Yeah. Cooking in more?
We are cooking in more than we normally would. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's for me too. I would say the same. My cooking skills have gone up a little bit. I normally eat out a lot more, but now I'm giving myself like an A+ on that.
I'm a little worried with some of my resources. I said I just invested in this property, and I kind of started this project like a month before COVID hit. And then COVID hit, and it was like, well, let's just see how this pans out. And then, there definitely have been some bright spots in the market. A lot of people fleeing the big cities to come to a smaller city like Pittsfield. But, so then you start to feel optimistic again. But then again, we now get this order for all the restaurants in town to shut down. So, if these restaurants start, folding permanently, and then, are people really going to want to move to a small city like this, when things kind of settle? That all remains to be seen. So, and I think just anyone right now, if you're worried about your 401k, it's like, okay, it crashed when this started, it climbed back up, and then like every other week, it's like up and down. So
up and down, yep.
Because there's just so much in the world on hold right now, and people don't know what direction it's going in. So
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So what about, the next kind of question to go into is about that funnel. So if you remember, it was, well, Ben, you could probably tell me better what order it goes in.
Yes, it was eliminate, automate, and delegate.
So thinking about those categories, what things do you have in your schedule, in your life, that you can fit into any of those? We wanted to kind of talk about, are there things that you can think of that you can eliminate, automate, or delegate?
I feel like I could eliminate maybe the extra screen time for sure. You know, there's definitely a lot of more extra screen time, even though I'm already on screens. It's just a lot of just like aimless behavior, just scrolling. You know, I could eliminate that. And delegate, delegate was one as well.
Yeah.
I don't know because the eliminate, I feel like, okay, delegate, I could delegate my sleep schedule a little bit better. That I could do much better. Just because I'm going to bed way too late and getting up early, I'm not getting enough rest. So those two things I would say for sure for me.
Yeah, kind of leading up to COVID, I felt like over a couple of years, I made a lot of progress on like getting away from my phone and turning it off, and trying to read books more in my free time, not just aimlessly scrolling the internet. And like that kind of, I feel like it kind of went out the window. Now, part of it is because I had a baby in the middle of all this, and when you're trying to feed a baby early in the morning, it's very hard to read a book and feed a baby. But you can scroll mindlessly through the internet, and I got kind of re-addicted to my phone. But that's definitely something I'd like to eliminate, as well as just general screen time around working and things like that. But in terms of delegating, the one thing I have done successfully was some things in my life that I just I could do. I could maybe save a little money, but I don't need to be the one doing it. For example, I hired someone to rake the leaves at my house, and then also at my new rental property. I could have saved a few $100s on that, but I got to look at my time and how I'm preparing for the next thing in my career and things like that. And if I'm and the guys I hired to do my leaves, they did it in about a quarter of the time that I could have done it. So went all around, keeping that in mind. So.
We did that same thing then. We had someone do our leaves for us. We did it last year and we're like, this is so worth it. This is honestly just, it adds to our happiness level, let alone the actual, because it's just not something we enjoy spending our time on, right?
Yeah, it was raking leaves in the yard. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Kirsten, what do you think? I see you thinking.
Yeah, I know. I think the funnel is really interesting because I feel like I literally was just talking to someone about this the other day. I was like, sometimes, like, we just bought a house, so I feel like I'm overwhelmed with, like, I just feel like there's so many things I need and want to do that I can't figure out what to do when. And I have that type of personality where if I have so much on my plate, I just don't do any of it. I just I get so overwhelmed that I'm like, I don't know, so I'm just not going to do any of it. So I think I need to look at that. Like, okay, what can I eliminate? Definitely screen time for sure. I spend way too much time just because I get so overwhelmed with what I have to do. So I'm like, let me just sit here instead and scroll and waste my time.
Yeah, procrastination.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And then he did mention the auto bills and things like that. I've done that. And someone also mentioned emails, which is huge. I actually am working on creating a completely new email account and just getting rid of my junk one because it's overwhelming. It's just one of those stressors that you see on your phone. You're like, oh my God, I have 1,000 emails from who? So it's just one of those things, just trying to eliminate all that unnecessary distractions. Yeah, definitely got to work on delegating some stuff.
Yeah, same here.
I volunteer for my sorority back in college. I'm their chapter advisor, and for many years I was a solo chapter advisor. I was the only alum who was working with this chapter, so they went to me for everything. Now I actually have 3 people who work on my team with me, so 3 more alums to support. I have not done a good job with engaging them on things that they can help me with. And that, as soon as you said delegate, that was the first thing I thought of, because they'll come to me for the silliest of questions. And sometimes I want to be like, go figure it out yourself. But
exactly.
But if I can say, go talk to this person instead, ask them, they can sit down with you and help you through it. That's a delegation technique that I think will help me. Time, happiness, all of that.
I think that's something I'm starting to do in my job as well. I've been in my job for maybe about a year and a half now. And for so long, I'm always I was yes, I'll do whatever. I felt weird saying no, but now it's I'm getting better at being you need to go talk to someone else, or you need to just kind of figuring out I can't do everything. I have these priorities. this is what you can
That's
do,
right.
or
That's
this is who
right.
you can talk to.
Yeah.
So definitely
That's
trying to work
very
on
true.
that.
Yeah, because I'm a part of this group as well, and like we'll have these projects, and I'm in the beginning for me, I was like, yeah, I'll help, because when it's a group thing, you want to make sure you're putting in your part. But then I realized that I was like the only one doing it for like the first 3 months, and I was like, okay, somebody else can pitch in and so saying no sometimes for sure, so your plate isn't too full.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm bad at that too. I'm so bad at that.
Yeah.
It is
I'm always
hard. To your
saying,
point,
like, yeah,
you
sure.
don't want to disappoint anyone. You want to prove that you're doing the right
Exactly.
things. I don't know.
Exactly. And then when you say no, you're like, I'm sorry, but my plate is full, really, really full.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone had a great conversation in their breakout rooms. So what I'm going to do is, have everyone share. Everyone should have appointed a reporter back to, I guess, a larger group here. So we're going to start off with my group, which is group 1. Kaylee?
Yeah. So we touched on a few different things, but we kind of took Ben's questions as our blueprint. So when we were talking about control over our energy, the conversation was really centered around it taking more energy to participate like in meetings and try and come across as being interactive and involved in the meetings when you're on a 2-dimensional computer screen than if you were in a meeting space altogether. And that at home, it's really, you feel a little less motivated to be involved in your work because you're surrounded by, your living room and you're distracted. Maple mentioned that having a dog gives you an excuse to get out, but that it can also be distracting if you're in a meeting and your dog wants to play or something like that. So that was definitely feel that one. And then Maple also suggested that he and Cheryl actually too, that they block off their calendar so that they can get tasks done and people know that they're not available for a meeting or not available for a phone call during that time so that they can really focus on the task at hand. But the important thing with that is just communicating it to others, saying that that's what you're doing so that they understand that that's how you're gonna stay focused. Then we went over to control over your time. And we really focused on not being able to say yes to everything, that we don't have the visibility over the people we're working with now. You can't just walk down the office and see that their office door is shut and know that they're not available. So again, that comes back to that time blocking and really having those boundaries. And then asking for priorities or solid deadlines on things so that you can stay on task. Keith brought up a great point about 3-point communication. So first, you tell someone what you need from them. Second, they repeat it back to you. And then third, you confirm or confirm their comprehension of what you need so that there's clear expectations and clear rules, which I thought was a great way to make sure that things are communicated correctly. And then we talked about resources a little bit. So we talked about, what companies provide for their employees to be successful at home or when they're not in the office. And we determined that it's really industry or company dependent because some companies provide a lot and then other companies don't provide much and you're expected to do it for yourself. And then we talked about employees being a resource as well. So Keith is a manager and his resources are the people he manages, and his big thing is juggling their individual skill sets and figuring out who's a good fit for remote and who's not and what works best for each person.
Thank you, Kaylee. That summed it up so well. We're going to go to group 2, and then feel free to jump in if there's anything that you would love to comment on. Group 2, which is with Khaled.
Thank you, Cheryl. We didn't pick a leader. We were doing it, but we ran out of time because we got into a good conversation when we were talking about here. So I'm just going to speak for the group. Sorry, guys, that's on me. But we focused a lot on the questions too, and we all found that we have a lot more time. But it seemed that a common theme was a little bit of structure as well. We like a little structure in how to kind of structure your day and stay disciplined. So we looked at the funnel and how, that's going to be applied in tasks that we need to do. And Dan brought up a good point, prioritization. Will this matter in 10 years? This is the way he thinks about this a lot, and how to, approach his task, which I really liked, because it helps you understand the importance of what you're trying to do, of a task that you're trying to accomplish. And I know that, excuse me, Eric was also, we're all in a period of transition right now in our own lives. So it seems like we all were trying to figure out what to take the next step. And Eric also shared a little bit of his experience, and how he has a lot of time as well. And he has chickens, so that's his main focus and priority now. He takes care of them and helps him kind of get outside and moving. We also suggested that after the workday, after we have a lot of screen time, a lot of fatigue from the Zooming and everything we do now online, after work finishes, stand up, get outside. That was suggested by Dan. And I know, excuse me, Victoria also had a gym suggestion now. Is like, think about the long term. You have your own fitness goals. Sometimes it's hard to get started in like the one gym session or the one task you have to do. Just think about the end goal. So like, okay, well, if I want to get to where I want to get to, then I have to do this now too. And it kind of builds on motivation and energy. So, and then at the end of the conversation, we're talking about the funnel, how to apply it better, how to prioritize it. And we were all aware about our energy and how, it's been hard to adjust to different schedules during the pandemic. I know Linda, she shared with us that she is a morning workout person, and she has not been able to keep that up after her rowing season ended, because it's getting colder. She also swims, so it's been tough to the time for her to swim at the local club is not the same every day. So it's tough to adjust, but it's been going okay with that. So had a great discussion, guys. Thank you for that, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Khaled. How about group 3, Crystal?
All right. So, oh, Crystal, did you? Okay.
No, we were group 4, but that's okay. Aaliyah was our group.
Oh,
Yeah.
group 4.
Group 4. Okay. So we talked about basically the same format as well. Control of schedule. A couple of us felt like we had more control, and a couple felt like they didn't have as much. So say Crystal, she felt like, she was constantly in meetings, going from one meeting to another. She felt like, okay, before COVID, you could stop by someone's desk and talk to them. But Kirsten said, it depends on your position and how, everybody's position is different. I play tennis, so I've always kind of had control over my schedule. And Ben felt like he worked at home before, so it wasn't new. However, when it comes to meeting up with people and so forth, sometimes things are constantly up in the air. And we all kind of agreed that with COVID, things have changed to being like, you're not sure if you're going to meet, you're not sure if something's going to really come through. And then we went to energy control. And I felt like I didn't have as much energy. And I think all of us kind of collectively felt like the routine, almost not having a consistent routine, kind of threw our energy off. And in fact, it became a little bit draining. I believe Ben pointed out that he gets up in the morning to work out, and because of COVID, he couldn't go to the gym. And obviously working out from home is completely different. And when you're going out to the gym, it kind of holds that accountability. And we all kind of agree that it's a lot easier, and you get a better workout when you're working out with other people. And I know I can 100% agree with that. Then we went to resources. So Crystal was talking about how she did well with saving money, and that was really good. That was a really, really good pointer there. I would say I would have to agree, because I've been cooking at home a lot more. I've become a chef, because before then I was eating out a lot more. And then we talked about elimination and delegation, and a lot of us would eliminate screen time. And a lot of us I felt like for me, it was delegating a little bit more of my my sleep schedule. I've been a little bit off on that. And yeah, so That's what most of us talked about.
I love the money portion. Like, I love that, right? Because I think
Yeah.
at the end of COVID, everyone started reevaluating, okay, do I really need this transportation taken out of my salary? You know, so there are certain components of the finance, which I do love that people have started taking ownership of that a lot more and started reassessing that. So last but not least, group three, which is Marcus. Who is the leader?
So I'm in a similar boat as Khaled. We were just having a great free-flowing conversation. So I didn't designate a lead speaker, so I was just taking notes on our conversation. So I do have some great insights. Just going to our first question on your management over your schedule. Most people felt a little bit more in my group for some reasons that were mentioned. Ksenia, like fewer distractions outside of work, such as friends wanting dinner, and also for her, she's in academia, so a lot of workshops that potentially she wouldn't be able to attend. Now, due to COVID, these organizations have made those workshops virtual. Now she has the ability to attend those workshops, and that's a great value add to her schedule. For David Bell, it was interesting because David Bell is a global sales manager for a tech company. So he had experience working from home prior to COVID, but he provided some tips, and I think would be helpful for the group. For him, being a global sales leader, he's constantly having to schedule meetings with people in different time zones. So obviously, if you have a meeting with four people and they're in four different time zones, the date and time that you choose is going to be an inconvenience to at least one of those people. So having an open conversation of what is your preferences, even if it goes outside of the normal working hours, so you can know that potentially maybe we can go a little bit later in the day because we know this person doesn't prefer it, but they're willing to make an adjustment based on their time zone. For energy, I found very interesting. So Ksenia is similar to Linda. Linda really loves human interactions, and she realized that her energy wasn't the same when you're just in your house all day and not having those conversations with people. She would notice it when she left the house. But on the same token, one of the benefits from working from home is she can listen to music. She can sing out loud when she's doing work. So that's another benefit to her energy that she couldn't do in person because her colleagues might get a little bit upset if she did that in a work environment. Sarah, for example, working from home, staying at home, increased her energy. I mean, for obvious reasons, you don't have the transportation issue. You have a lot of things that you need right there at your fingertips. And then David brought up a good example of when I was working from home, you can work out whenever. So if you have a 15-minute break in between your meeting, he has a pull up and dip set right on his balcony that he can knock out some reps. And he doesn't have to do a whole 60-minute workout. He can spread that out over the day. So, I mean, we saw there were some innate efficiencies created due to COVID, but at the same time, there are some difficulties adjusting to COVID, and it really depends on the person. And so that's what we have. We didn't get to the third question because 20 minutes was not enough for this conversation. So since I am the last person, finish off with some closing remarks. So just to let you guys know, if you enjoyed this session today, which I did, this is the first time we did breakout rooms, which I think was a great add to our structure. We're going to have a part 2 of this culture chat December 11th at 12 p.m. Eastern around energy management. So if you do have time in your schedule and you enjoy what you experienced today, please come back. Recommend friends or colleagues to join. The more the merrier. Also, we encourage everyone that's on this call to complete our DLE impact survey that's underway due November 5th. By you completing the survey, it really helps us out. The data we'll use by the advisory board, which I'm on, for strategic planning in 2021. So we want to continue to create content that you want. So to create content that you want, We need your feedback, and it's truly valued. That survey is open to November 25th. It's only 7 questions, and I thank you for your time in advance for completing that. So as we all know, COVID forced many businesses and organizations to innovate to survive. The DLE was no exception. Back in March, we transitioned 100% of our in-person events to a virtual platform. And since then, we created over 60 virtual events and introduced the DLE brand to 300 new individuals. Also, the DLE is not a for-profit organization, which makes it great. We accomplish all these great things and have this great community, all from volunteer efforts and the support of Linda Dulye, who's on this call, the CEO and founder of Dulye & Co., who philanthropically solely underwrites the DLE. And I'm truly thankful, and I could speak for other people on this call. We're truly thankful for the resources Linda invests in the DLE. We have to continue to execute on the DLE's mission of creating inclusive, innovative, informative events to inspire rising leaders, career, and life success. And like I mentioned earlier, we really can't accomplish this goal without you all. Your feedback to the survey, your participation, your referrals to your friends and colleagues really help us grow the DLE, and we want to continue to grow it. So to end off,
hang on, Marcus. One couple thing. I want to thank all of you. We had a planning team that has spent several weeks really working today. Well, not just today, December 11th. This is a 2-parter. So I want to thank Ben. You helped us kick this off. Time management we get in our feedback as it's a high priority. People are starting to think of 2021, what can I do better? So with Ben's help in kicking us off, Marcus and Crystal, Khaled, Cheryl, thank you for really spending time over the last couple of weeks. We've been meeting and we're moving ahead. Aaliyah's part of that group. I know she's going to get back engaged. She's been helping us with Culture Chat planning. So it is totally volunteer. And I know, Eric, you've got some time. We welcome you to become part of this. Victoria, if you've got some time, we'd love to have your energy and ideas. We always benefit from growing through volunteer efforts and new perspectives. So please come aboard. And just 2 things. We have finalized our next breakfast club. I'm pretty excited about this one because we usually do something around the holidays about how we can give back. And it's very hard right now because so many charitable organizations are doing things very differently. There isn't, for example, I know I'm active in my parish and we have a physical giving tree that you can go and take somebody's name from and give them a physical gift. That's not happening this year. So our next breakfast club, which is December 4th. Is it the 4th? No, it's the 20th. I'm sorry, it's next Friday. Next Friday is our breakfast club, the 20th, November 20th. Liana Tuscanini, who is the executive director and founder of the Nonprofit Center of the Berkshires, is going to talk about 4 ways for you to be able to give back and or volunteer during this holiday season. It's a little bit different holiday season. And then we are going to have a very, very holiday festive December 4th breakfast club, which is going to be a DLE holiday recipe swap. So more details to come on that. You can register for all these. I know Nicole's putting registrations in. Please be active with us. Please generate ideas. Let's make this better than ever in 2021. We are already doing our strategic planning. So now, Marcus, I lob it back to you.
Well, I don't know how I'm supposed to follow up after that. The only comments I had was Nicole just dropped the survey in the chat. So if you can please complete that survey, that'll be truly appreciated. I'm just going to echo Linda's words. We love you all. Thank you for joining us. Please continue to come back. We love seeing new faces and we love seeing our old timers. So like typical tradition, the DLE events have a soft stop. So we have a soft stop at 1 p.m. But if your schedule permits, you can stay on. We can talk about anything. And at this moment, everyone can unmute their mics.